In part two of problem solving, we'll just look at certain kinds of problems or a particular type of a problem, and we'll just stay with that so that you understand it from every angle. So it's not that we'll do too many problems, just maybe a couple. Okay, so here it is. Let's start with this one here. Show that 20% of 50% of an amount is the same as 10% of that amount. How do we show that? This is not difficult at all. You take this amount, 50% is of course half of this, so let's show 50%. That's 50% right there. Now we show 20% of this. Now 20% we know is 20 out of 100, right? Which is 2/10 or 1/5. So if we break this into 5 equal parts, then one of them is this much. This is 1/5 of 50%, or 20% of 50%. Now, can we prove that this is 10%? Well, 10% we know is 1/10. So this is 1/10, because 10% is 1/10. So there we are. We've already proved it. We can also do it this way. 20% of 50% of an amount. Well, 20% means 0.2. Of means to multiply. 50% is 0.5. Multiply the two, and you get 0.1. If you want to change that to percentage, we can do that by multiplying by 100%, and we get 10%. There you go. Proved. So 20% of 50% is 10%, no matter which way you see it. So, something to just wrap your mind around as we go through these kind of problems. 20% of all my money was spent on medicines. All my money, that's all my money right there. 20% was spent on medicines, that's this much over here. 40% of the remaining money is this bit here. This is the remaining money. What percent is this? If this is 20%, what percent is the remaining money? That's right, it's 80%. And 40% of that, 40% of this remaining money was spent on surgery. So what percent of my total money was spent on surgery? Well, this was all my money. This was my total money. What we were asking is, this bit here is what percent of the total money? Well, we know that this is 40% of the remaining money. The remaining money is 80%. So 40% of 80% of the total money. And we can work that out by turning these into decimals, multiplying the two, and changing them back to percentage, and we get 32%. That means this is 32% of the total amount of money, which was spent on surgery. And there's your answer. So there's one way of looking at it. You can see it directly, even without any drawings. 20% of all my money was spent on medicines. 40% of the remaining money, we know the remaining money must have been 80%. So what's 40% of 80%? Well, change that into decimals. Of means to multiply. That's 0.4. That's 0.8. Multiply the two, and you'll get 0.32 of all my money. If you change that to percentages, multiplied by 100%, and you get 32% straight away. And that was your answer last time. So you can get it mathematically if you just use the simple mathematical reasoning using pure numbers, which is what we're really trying to get to. What about this one? After using up 40% of the sugar on baking pastry, I used up 45% of the remaining sugar. So what percent of all the sugar did I use up? We can figure this out directly from here, isn't it? This is the cue. I used up 45% of the remaining sugar. What percent was the remaining sugar? Who can answer that? If you used up 40%, then what percent is remaining? 60%, that's right. So you can say, I used up 45% of the remaining sugar is 60%. So if you write, if you used up 45% of 60%, of the total sugar. And that's easy to work out. 0.45 times 0.6, and there's your answer, 27%, if you want to change it to percent. So what percent of all the sugar did I use up? I used up 27% of all my sugar. Okay, what about this one? 20% of all my money was spent on medicines. Okay, so there's all the money. 40% of the remaining money was spent on surgery. So if 20% went on medicines, then 40% of the remaining money, that's 40% of this bit here. Now we know that the remaining money must be 100 minus 20, which is 80%. 20% is gone, so this must be 80%. And 40% of that was spent on surgery. So let's take 40% of the remaining money, which is 40% of 80%. Now that's 0.4 times 0.8, and that's, of course, 32%. Change that to percent. 32%. That is what we spent on surgery. Of all my money. Now, if I spent $250 on my surgery, how much money did I have before the operation? That means what was all my money? Well, 32% of all my money must have been $250, right? 32% of all my money is $250. Now we can figure out what this missing bit is, because if this is times, this is 0.32, right? We don't know this amount, but this is 0.32. 250 divided by 0.32, and the answer would come to 781.25. And that is all my money. So you can work it out this way. That's your total money. Let's try this one. 50% of my books are 20 books. How many books will there be? 85%. Like 50% is 20, 85% is how much? It's like saying 50 books cost $20, 85 books will cost how much? Let's try to do this one here. If 50 books cost $20, how much will 85 books cost? Forget this, it's very similar, the pattern. 50 books cost $20. Well, find out the cost of one book. That'll be 20 divided by 50, right? Because it's 50 times less, so you'll reduce this 50 times, you'll divide it by 50. And so if this is 50 times less, then there'll be 20 divided by 50. That's the cost of one book. So what's the cost of 85 books? Well, you increase it by 85 times more, so you'll increase this price of one book 85 times more, multiplied by 85, and you got your answer. It's $34. The same kind of reasoning we apply here. 50% of my books are 20 books. Okay, so let's show that. 50% equals 20 books. So 1% would equal how many books? It's 50 times less, right? So since it's 50 times less, we'll reduce this 50 times, divide it by 50, and we get 20 divided by 50%. So what will be 85%? 1% is 20 over 50%. This whole thing is 1%. So 85% will be 85% times more. And so you multiply it by 85%. There you go. It's all numbers now, because you can change this to a decimal. You can change this to a decimal. And all you have to do is calculate this. So that turns into numbers. That's 0.85, that's 0.5, and you can cancel these two. That should come to around 1.7. That's right, multiply the 2. So that takes care of that bit, the same as before. So you do a faster version of this, it'll look like this. 50% is 20 books, 1% would be 50% less, or 50% times less, so that's divided by 50%. So that's quicker. And then 85% would be just multiply that by 85%, reduce those to decimals, strike this out, you get 1.7, multiplied by 20, you get 34 books again. The same thing, so it's not too different. Okay? Right. Here's a problem. You can do this. 75% of my money is so much. How much will 35% of my money be? So if you can figure out how much 1% will be, 75% is 250. So how much is 1%? It's 75% less. So divided by 75%, that's for 1. Now for 35%, it'll be 35 times more. So 35% times more. So simplify that with decimals. 0.75, 0.35. Well, now it's all simplifying all this. Divide this by that and multiply the answer. And if you do the math, you will get $116.67. And that's your answer. So that's where we stop here. All we did was take a very close look under the microscope, under the magnifying glass, to see what certain procedures and processes look like. How do you think about them mathematically? And once you've got that algorithm or a way of thinking about it, the rest becomes very, very easy. So we didn't do too many, just a couple, just so you get an idea of how to think about them. So in the next part, we'll do lots more word problem solving for percentages. See you then. Take care. Have a great day, and bye-bye.